All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined from the great Oklahoma City by Andy Hedrick. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing well. How are you, John?
Doing great. And you're the and you're the founding member and CEO of Green Path Tech, which you founded to accelerate sales growth for B2B companies. You've over 30 years experience in B2B sales, demand generation, executive consulting, and a background in industrial engineering. And you've led strategic initiatives across 9 countries, managed teams up to 100 professionals, and the author of the 2V2R Rapid Sales Growth System, which was released just in January, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, released in January on Amazon.
Yeah, so fresh off the presses. So I encourage you to go check it out. And you have delivered over 500 million in revenue growth, 50 to 80% lower costs for rapid sales growth, 15x to 35x returns on projects, and executed over 250 projects since 2018. Well, it's extremely impressive. So just, I guess the most obvious question to start with is just explain the 2V and the 2R.
Yeah, sure. What it stands for is value and verified results. Those are the 2Vs. Must be much greater than the risks and resistors in order to sell to a modern B2B buyer.
Right.
And that carries through the digital presence, the proposals, the pitch decks, all of it, right? With the way that buyers execute today. About 67% of their journey is online. So we know that, and we help companies position themselves to sell rapidly and grow their revenue.
So, how did you come across this with the modern B2B sales? How do you come across this, and with the balance of value and verified results against risk and resistance? Just give me the kind of genesis of that.
Yeah, so back in 2018, I was traveling coast to coast, selling a fuel technology for another company, so outside sales. And I was traveling all the time, spending way too much time in hotels and flights and rooms and so forth. And I was seeing companies that were growing really quickly and using a digital approach. And they were hiring, getting investments into them. So I went on a journey myself to see if I could generate business with that digitally first. And amazingly, I'm so thankful. Yeah, we grew our pipeline from like 49 million to 489 million in the first year in sales pipeline. We grew revenue by 54% during COVID-19 using this approach. So friends of mine, especially in 2020, were going, "What are you doing for sales? Because nobody will allow us to come in and sit down."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I'm very fortunate. We have videos, case studies, testimonials, and landing pages and things that we use with a initial project, a pilot project. And then we do a test, we prove it out, then we do a big bulk order. These are $200,000, $500,000 orders after the proof of concept. So they said, I wonder if it would work for us. And so I didn't really set out to codify a method.
Yeah.
It was more, how is this working? And then I put it together on paper, and really it comes down to value and verified results being way bigger than the risk and resistors on their side. You can do that and get it in front of the right people, you can sell more.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, the ability to codify what you've done is actually a rare talent, because they mostly and I ran Huthwaite years back, Neil Rackham spin selling and all of that. And one of the things that he told me when I talked to him was he said some of the top and best salespeople in the world, they can't tell you. They literally can't tell you how they do it, and you can't codify, you can't replicate it. You just can't. So it's when somebody can do it like you did and actually be able to do it, then it's teachable to other people. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people in a lot of organizations, they say, "Oh, just go copy Andy." And they go, "Okay." And they go, "Oh, well, Andy, what do you do?" And Andy's like, "Oh, well, I just do what I do. I don't know."
Right. Exactly. I've been in those sales organizations where you have the really top performers, but they can't really articulate
Exactly.
what it is that they do that's different.
Hmm.
Is so people are just scratching their heads. And part of it maybe is they don't want to tell everybody what they're
Well,
doing.
that's true too. Yeah. Uh,
Right.
so tell me, as you said, I mean, there's a lot of investigational work that goes on before you ever get to speak to the prospect or whatever. How does your system help build trust before you even engage?
Right. So we build content that delivers value. And
Hmm.
three of the big ones. Whenever you're talking about a solution, you know that everybody has a very short attention span these days.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So we lead with what drives profit, right? On the messaging, well, I'll just give you an example. Bullet points on your LinkedIn profile with ranges of savings or ranges of
Hmm.
revenue growth or reductions in admin time. Those bulleted numbers pop.
Mm.
We're talking sales pop.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They pop off the page, right? That's a simple thing, but it makes a huge difference when somebody visits a profile and they look at it, and then it's what's in it for them.
Hmm.
What's in it for them
Yep.
to talk to you? Uh,
Absolutely.
Most people, myself included, did a resume on their LinkedIn, right? I've been here, done that, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
da.
Yeah.
But the other side, to connect with you and talk with you, what's in it for them? What's
Hmm.
and really relate it in terms of profit for sure, because that's the language of CEOs and founders. They want to be more profitable. So
Mm.
there can be some soft benefits there too, but I highly recommend, value statements that are tangible.
Yeah, absolutely. And just tell me a little bit about how you lower the costs, because this is one of the things I think uh, is also something a lot of organizations struggle with. I took over an organization one time, and it sales were great, right? It was really good. Customers loved everything. The cost of sales was ridiculous. The cost of delivery was ridiculous. It was just bloated in every way, and and addressing that caused a lot of heartache and angst for some of the people involved. But to tell me how you do, because I do think a lot of times we're leaving a lot of money on the table. We're over resourcing things and in sales, and we're overdoing things, and we're not getting the value in return.
Right. Yeah. There is really a system to it.
Hmm.
And if you do that in a good way and you reach out to hundreds or thousands of the right targets,
Yeah.
um, utilize tools that are available today,
Hmm.
right? We also, with our projects, we staff BDRs and sales execs alongside of the client.
Right.
So, and it's fractional.
Right.
So we can execute on a project for typically 40 to 60% less than that would be for them to go hire another marketing person, another sales
Yeah.
executive, a sales automations expert, then a content writer, a
Hmm.
photographer, right? When you do the math on, you could go hire all that out, or you could utilize that talent in buckets
Yeah.
and go out with the right message, of course, and videos and so forth. You can save a lot of money
Yeah.
doing it that way.
Yeah, and 100%. And I think that's one of the fantastic benefits that you have today of, people like organizations like yours and Upwork and all these things. And you can find, because to your point there, yeah, you may have a big project coming up and then you hire all of these people, right? And maybe they're busy for that project. But after that project, you suddenly find maybe you've hired a marketing person, but you only have like 50% work for them. So what do? You just give them other work. And then you do that for everyone else. So now you've paid people and they're only doing half a job because that's all you really needed, but they're just doing stuff to make up the rest of the time. So leveraging contract resources, fractional resources, and that it makes so much more sense to me, and just keeping your team's core.
Yeah, it does. Like you said, using the resources, but not, like you just said, what I see a lot of companies do,
Hmm.
more activity,
Yeah.
more activity, more activity, right? But they're not going out there with the right approach and go to market and tools. And And so they're just busy,
Yep.
busy, busy, busy.
And
Doing.
throw bodies at it.
One of the things, I worked with a client, they were measuring how many calls made per week. Okay. All right. So we looked at that and then looked at pipeline. Very few of those phone calls were going through.
Mm-hmm.
It was, they get to a phone system,
Yeah.
they get an extension. And honestly, we've uncovered with them that they were getting forwarded to a fake extension.
Yeah.
Right. So you're leaving a message for Lorraine and you go out on LinkedIn and you look everywhere, high and low, there is no Lorraine.
Yeah.
Right. So you're measuring something that has no value, honestly. And you're looking at the pipeline going, the pipeline is just not, I don't get it. They're making 155 calls a week and the pipeline's not growing. And well, it's because they're not reaching the people. They're
Yeah.
not reaching the people they need to. And so we, of course, revamped, restructured, and looked at Pipeline Weekly, and it was landing very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the clients we worked with, they went from 0 to sold at 3.8 years in, and they hired 3 salespeople in 6 months to keep up with their pipeline because they did it well.
Right.
They
Yeah.
went to market well, and
Mm-hmm.
very quickly. And you hear these stories about companies going from like 0 to 100 million quickly these days.
Mm-hmm.
Way much more than like the 1990s and 2000s.
No, absolutely.
Right.
But it's interesting you say also about pipeline, because that's a thing that often like sucks people in, or bloated pipelines. Because let's face it, if you've got a lot of stuff in your pipeline, it feels good, right? You may not be closing that much, but you still have that kind of irrational optimism that all this stuff at the beginning of your early in your pipeline is going to come through later, but it doesn't, because it's often junk. So cleaning pipelines is really, really important. And as you said, you could have a pipeline, like bloated pipeline, you could be calling, email, everything, and you're never going to close any of it. You'd be better off with cleaning it and getting way more granular at the beginning and reaching out to your real target ICP as granular as you can get with that.
Right. Absolutely. I've had some projects where they said, I want to go after 5,000 targets. And I said, okay, for what reasons? Exactly. And they said, well, I want a massive pipeline because we know it goes cold, warm, closed, right? But when you really rationally talk about what kind of revenue growth are you really looking for, how many people do you have that we could, send all these leads to? How many hours a day do they have? And you really rationalize it, they need maybe 1,200.
Exactly. And you think about, well, we've done the math, and in the past, we closed like 20%. So that's why we need, this big pipeline. And you're going, well, wouldn't it be better to be closing 50% of a more targeted pipeline?
Right. Yeah, let's work on the closing.
Yeah. Let's
Right.
work on the closing, and then on the rigorous qualifying.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. No, these and another thing we've done, not rocket science, but the way that people work today. I worked in ERP for years, selling, implementing, etc. And those deals are 500,000 plus. In the modern B2B buying world, it's very difficult to sell a $500,000 project right out of the gate.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
However, if you could sell a proof of concept with some deliverables in it for 50,000, 20,000, then they see the value. Now they're ready for the big one. And that's one of the things that we've done with many, many companies is, let's talk about your offer and the structure of it and what are the deliverables from it. Okay. So then can they get plenty of value out of that pilot project, that start project? And then they're ready for multiple buildings, rollouts, etc. But right out of the gate, don't hit them with a $500,000 proposal. They're saying our close cycle is 2.5 years. And we're saying, can we reduce that to like 6 months at least?
Yeah, and it's a really good point, and obviously you saw this as well. But it was like, pre the financial crash in 2008, like, budgets, people had, I remember people had ridiculously high sign off levels for, they could sign, you could have managers signing off on ridiculous amounts of money. That all went away, clear, and it's never come back. And to your point, that's why if you're going to go in with a big ticket item and a big ticket price, you need to have a really good strategy around it, because that decision is going way up.
That's right, right. And those close cycles can be multiple years.
Mhm.
Um, but the thing we found with the approach that we're using, we're condensing those close cycles, getting a project landed. And it's amazing what happens, frankly. When somebody has to pay for something
Yep.
and they have to approve you as a vendor,
Hmm.
how much smoother your big deal goes through.
Oh yeah.
You have to be approved as a vendor, deliver some things, they see it and they go, well, he's an approved vendor, let's go, right? We're ready for 3 more buildings now. It's really transformed. I started my very first sales job in 1992, a logistics software company that was 3 people. I was the third person. We ended up getting acquired twice. But I think about those days of, going in, traveling in,
Mm.
sitting down for a $25,000 project. It took 8 months to get done. And I wish I could go back and go, you know what? Let's do a proof of concept. I bet you we would have closed twice as much as
Yeah.
faster. But back in those days, you just did that. If it was 20,000 plus, you're going to travel out, you're going to sit in a conference room, you're going to roadmap, all the things. And frankly, the people on the buying side, they're like, oh man, another meeting, another lunch, another thing I've got to attend. They don't even want to be there.
No, yeah, yeah. Remember the days of the bake-offs? That used to be the best one, when you're in and like they've called in, your 4 main competitors or whatever,
Right.
and you're like fourth, and you can tell they're just like wrecked from it at this stage. You're like, "Ugh." Yeah,
Yep.
but the point of the good thing about pilots and what you're talking about there, that's a great opportunity to find out what the risk perceptions are on their side, what the potential resistance is, like who or what could hold you up. I mean, this is a great opportunity to uncover those in a kind of controlled environment.
Right, right. And you have those conversations about what are the resistance,
Hmm.
levels, where are they at? Is it compliance, procurement, legal? You find those things out. And the approach that we're using is address those
Yep.
in the pitch. We know that typically IT doesn't like this because they don't have staffing and they think
Hmm.
it's gonna be a burden. What we do is we come in with a turnkey approach. We do this, we need 4 hours of IT involvement. It's a SaaS platform. You position it in such a way that you're addressing the resistance right
Hmm.
away.
Yeah, because people, let's face it, especially in business like this, people hate surprises.
Yeah.
So they hate to get down into the process, and then suddenly you go, and they go, "Oh, what about this?" And you go, "Oh, yeah, well, here's what we do, and it costs this amount and whatever." And they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't realize that." Yeah. So I mean, I think anytime you can do that, and how much of that can you do in advance, like with how you message and market, and how can you address the risks that people, or the perception of risks that people have?
Yeah, I put it into the pitch deck,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
It's a part of the pitch. So you lead with value and verified results, and
Right.
then talk about risks and resistance and how you mitigate it.
Yeah.
And one other big tip, no more than 10 pages in a slide deck, and
Yeah.
less text, more images.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is definitely evolved a lot, and people just don't have the attention span. And most people, I think, want to get to the net of things now, and
Right,
especially if you've got executives in the room, like, they want to, and that's why I think it's smart, because I mean, you start with the value and what they're going to get out of it, and then you just address all of the objections up front.
right,
So
right.
then, hopefully, then the process goes a lot smoother. How are you seeing how we touched on this briefly earlier, because you were talking about fake voicemail boxes and all of that. Now we have AI voice answering agents and stuff that are doing sort of similar thing. How is AI impacting? Do you think impacting sales?
it's actually, I think, hurting in a lot of ways, to be honest about it. Done in the right ways, it can really help with your content and messaging.
Hmm.
But done in the wrong ways, I'll give you an example. I get an email about a week ago that says, I see you own a trucking fleet. And we help trucking fleet owners XYZ and do this and that.
Yeah.
Immediately, I just, not only do I shut it down, I'm like, don't talk to them because they are totally off and
Hmm.
they're trying to use AI to scrub the internet for
Yeah.
what is this person? I've worked with hundreds of trucking fleets. That's why
Yeah.
they,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I've never owned a trucking fleet in my life, right? So totally wrong messaging. And I see there's some danger in that. Not
Yeah.
only are you turning it off right then, but it's much harder to get back in there again,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
you're not coming back in after that. It's like, and I've seen other ones that try to be, I think you should use AI to make yourself more efficient, but you shouldn't use it to try and fool people. You shouldn't use it to try, just to be try and clever. It's like that one they go, have you ever got the ones where they go, "Oh, um, I see you live near this, great coffee shop, blah blah blah. It gets great ratings. Is that where you go to get your coffee?" And you're like, "What?
what?
Number 1, it's not even close to me, and second off, why?" I got one like this about a coffee shop, and I'm like, "Why are you asking me? Why are you asking me about coffee shops? I know
And,
what you're trying to do is like, oh, I know you." No, you don't.
and they don't, that's the thing too. You don't really have the right to ask somebody a question.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Andy, quick question. Have you
Yeah,
ever considered da da da? I'm like, I don't know you. The
yeah.
one that really killed me was we've corresponded. That to them was they messaged me a couple of times, so that's
Oh,
corresponding.
that's correspondence. Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think you got to use it elegantly, and I think if you do that, but if you keep the human element out front, that's the most important thing I think is because let's face it. I mean, the companies and stuff that you work with, a lot of it is built on the relationship that you or your salespeople, your company have built with those people, right? With the buyers, with the people at the organization. They're not going to want that replaced by purely by AI, are they?
No, people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
frankly, when you use AI in the wrong ways, you break down that trust.
Yeah. And
Pretty
that's why I'm a big proponent of like it's fine use AI, but be on it, be upfront about it. Like don't try and fake it. Like admit that it's AI. Because here's the thing: if you use AI for some interaction, whatever with me, if it gives me what I need better than you could have done it, I'm happy. If it doesn't, then I'm not happy. So it's as simple as that. Therefore, you can use AI and I'll be happy as long as it is doing something better than you were doing before.
right. No, I use AI all the time.
Yeah.
I take a pitch deck, for example, and say,
Mhm.
streamline this,
Yeah.
right? And give me some images for this.
Exactly.
Instead of 15 bulleted points, give me 2 or 3 images. I
Yeah.
use it. I use it every week,
Yeah,
but
and it saves you a bunch of time.
it
And
saves a
and
bunch
it
of,
yeah, and that isn't and you printing up your decks isn't a high value activity. So there's a great example. Low
right.
value activity.
It is.
High
Yeah.
high
Absolutely.
but it has outsized impact.
Yeah. There's a button now on Google Slides, beautify this slide. And I have used it.
I know it isn't that funny though, yeah. Because I mean, once upon a time, I used to fire everything off to designers and say beautify this. Now I just press a button.
It's just so true. So true, though.
Yeah,
Yeah. And the messaging itself, I'll take messaging that's like 4 paragraphs, make this 100 words or less,
yeah,
with
yeah,
three
yeah.
bullet points in it.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's really what it's very good at because there's one thing that a lot of people struggle at unless you have a writing background is condensing and being, brevity and concise. And so people struggle with it. Most people, if you ask them something, they can give you 4 really detailed paragraphs. But if you say, no, give me 3 sentences or give
Right.
me 3 bullets, they're like, oh, I don't know how to.
They do. They struggle with that.
Mhm.
Most people in sales want to tell you everything,
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Yeah, yeah.
right?
Everything is important.
Everything. And but it's not important
Yeah,
to the buyer. If it's not important to the buyer, you need to, streamline this stuff out of the way.
yeah,
Way back when, you would lead a pitch with, here's who we are,
Yeah.
Here's what we've done,
Yeah.
our roadmap,
Hmm.
like, and then at the end you get to here's our value.
Yeah. 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 And you go through the logo slide. Don't forget.
Yeah, the logo slide absolutely had to be there. And then it's like, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Exactly.
this.
And and the people at the back of the room, can you wake us up when you get to the end?
Yeah, exactly. Tell me when we're at the part where you're telling me what you can do for me.
Exactly.
That was the way every pitch that I was given and
Mhm.
everyone that was delivered was open with who we are, what and how long we've been doing it, and our client list and those sorts of things.
Yeah. So if you're still doing that, I would encourage you maybe grab Andy's book.
Yeah, that's a big one. Just the pitch itself
Yeah.
make a huge difference. Well, for example, we only do 15-minute Zoom meetings for an intro
Hmm.
meeting
Yeah.
because everybody's got 15 minutes,
Yes.
right? Leverage that. And you
Hmm.
should be able to, within 15 minutes, articulate the value and the results that you've done. And
Yeah.
on that front, use the client logo with a short impact statement from nobody's going to read a paragraph
Yep.
testimonial. What in there was the impact statement?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, those days, yeah, you've got to be a lot more concise, and you've got to be, you got to understand attention spans, and you got to get to the nobody, like you said, I mean, once upon a time, and it was great, you fly in, spend time with people. Now they're not even going to have you they're not going to have you fly in until they're sure that you're going to be bringing them something. So if you can't do that virtually or whatever, if you can't do that 15 minutes and establish your credibility, you're never going to get in front of them.
Right. Yeah. In fact, that whole year of COVID, we were doing these fuel treatment projects on large diesel engines that cost $500,000 to $1 million.
Mhm. Yeah.
Didn't have one on-site meeting,
Hmm.
but rolled out with 32 different companies with instructions of exactly what to do. And we're here to help you. And then we measure all of these things and you see the results.
Yeah.
It was amazing because our pilot was like a 60-day pilot, but I had clients that would get a hold of me at day 45 and say, I'm ready.
Ready to go. Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
the information. And I had a big project in oil and gas exploration where we were 45 days in. It was in November, and he said, I want to get to talk about a bulk purchase. And it was like $380,000
Wow.
because I want to expense it this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, yeah, and it just shows you there's another benefit of pilots. You might actually even finish the pilot. You might be told, no, let's go to full blown implementation if it's going well. So that's another great way of leveraging pilots. So, listen, thanks so much, Andy, for the insights. All of Andy's information will be below this video. But before you go, please do remind people about what you do.
Yeah, we do rapid sales growth projects through consulting, staffing, sales automation. Basically, it's all about rapid sales growth projects.
Yeah. And the book again is the 2V2R Rapid Sales Growth System, available from all good booksellers. There you go. Perfect. Excellent. We'll have a link to that below as well. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Andy. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see you all again very soon.
Thank you, John.